Welcome back. Alright, so in our triple whammy series here, we've got this 500 watt sun model, and it's working fine. I put the tip, what the heck was that, a tip 41C back in. It turns out that this is a 24 volt model, not a 12 volt model. So as soon as I hooked it up to over 24 volts, it ran and syncs fine. So that was a lesson for me that I had noticed on Free Thinker's videos. He would creep up on the voltage, the supply voltage, and note when it turned on. And they turn on about, these small ones turn on about 14 volts. So this one has to be much higher. In fact, maybe I've got it wrong. But anyway, that's what I understand right now. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to demonstrate. Let's see, making sure that all this is, you can't see it off camera here, but what I've got is I've got a 12 volt battery in series with my ham radio power supply, which has somewhat variable voltage. So so let me see, I got plus to minus. Okay, so here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook up the AC first. And then there's our caps charging. Okay, so we're at 19 volts. Let me kill the lights. And gosh, I hope you guys can see that. Okay, let me bend this out of the way. Okay, so I've got 19 volts on the meter, 1909, and it's not syncing, it's hunting. So we'll watch this meter as I slowly raise the voltage off camera here. This off voltage supply is good for 32 amps, so it's okay, so here we go. We're creeping up. Creeping. Somewhere 24, 25 it comes on. Up. Okay, there's 23.3. It's syncing. The watt meter shows a whole entire watt. Okay, so it's syncing. Let's turn the lights on so make sure the camera can pick all this up. So okay, there we go. Alright, so now we're getting a little bit of power going in. 19 watts into my grid here. The power supply shows, barely can read it, just a couple amps going in. So let's raise this up some more and see where she goes. What usually happens is these LEDs speed up. In fact, there may be enough light. You can hear it humming. Okay, so about 5 amps is going into the system. The LEDs have picked up some speed. We got 90 something watts going into this thing. So I'm not going to run it a lot because I don't have a fan. I don't have the other end of the plate in there. So there's 100 watts. 24 volts, as close as I can set it, 24.04, 117 watts going in. The syncing has picked up speed. What I'll do is I'll crank this ham supply up to full blast and you'll watch those LEDs, they'll really fly. Yeah, see there? 26 volts. So we're at 26.0 volts, 230 watts going in, and it's supposed to be a 500 watt system. So, alright, so let's bring it back down. You can see it slowed way down. Now, the on was what, 23.3, the on voltage? I think once it latches, it'll actually go lower and keep running. So the thresholds for having this thing run are kind of different. We're pulling about 7 amps on this side at 22 something volts. So as the batteries discharge, it allows itself to go down, which kind of makes sense. It just, as long as they shut off 10.5 times 2, 21 volts. Okay, so we're at 21.9. I'm creeping this down slow. Still got 88 watts going into the grid. Okay, so we got 21.2 volts going in. At some point it's going to stop syncing. There it goes, right there. So about 21.7 or so, it stops syncing. If you divide that by 2, that'd be 10.5 and another 10. So it'd be about 10.6, yeah. So they've calibrated this so that when you have two batteries on here, when they get down to about 10.5, 10.6 volts, this will stop pulling power out of the battery, so it won't damage them. That's the theory. You can take 12-volt batteries down to 10.5. What this does, though, is the power it produces going into the grid is constantly being reduced as the battery voltage drops. So what will happen is it'll run these all the way down to 10.5 volts, and then it just stops syncing, which is a great safety feature. So I'll disconnect this. Anyway, that's this one. So the next thing I'll do is test these other two. Honestly, I gotta find this end plate with the fan on it. I don't know where I put it. It's here somewhere. Okay, so there's that. We're hot. Now I'm not going to leave the lights off because we know how the LEDs work. They all work the same. So let's see. I don't think these are going to. Okay, so here we go. Make sure we're still in frame. Just barely. This lead doesn't want to reach. Okay, so we got 29 watts going in. Let's see what kind of voltage the system. Now these do have fans that they're completely assembled. They're syncing, and getting these things to stay is not going to be. It's flying now. 142 watts going in, and this is a 250 watt system. I think it says it'll run at 200. Okay, so it says here we're pulling about 10 amps on the ham supply, but the voltage is down a little bit. Yeah, it's down around 10, so 10. Oh boy, that means this battery's only at 10. That's not good. Okay. Now this thing's flying. I'm hoping to get the fan to turn on without blowing stuff up. It says it'll go to 28 volts. You can hear it. Oh boy, I don't like the way that sounds. I'm at 200 watts going in. 12 amps being pulled. Okay. 26 volts going in under load. That's 26 volts at the inverter, because that's the only place the inverter cares. 217 watts going in. That's pretty cool. It's making a lot of noise though. You can probably hear the soft sound of my fan in the background for the ham supply. This is getting that 60 hertz going pretty good. So 215 watts into the grid. LEDs are flying. Let's run it at the best I can put into it, which is 25.8 volts. That means this guy's sagging quite a bit, because this one's putting out about 16, so this is down to 9 volts. Yikes. Okay, so it's running. I don't hear the fan on yet. I don't hear the fan on yet. This thing's still basically stone cold. 215 watts into the grid. I'm thrilled. something's getting a tiny bit warm around here. Let's see. Oh, it's probably these cables are... Oh, you know what? There's going to be a huge voltage drop. These things are getting warm. There's cables over here. You can just see this one here. No, maybe you can't. So these cables are really small gauge. I don't usually pull any current through them. So for testing, it's good enough. As long as we keep the meters in the frame. 220 watts, it's cruising. If I had better... Okay, so I'm going to bring it all back down. Okay, voltage on the ham supply is about, if that meter's accurate, 6.5, so about 10 out of the battery, but we've got some serious drop here. In fact, let's see if I can get my meter leads out and we'll measure the voltage drop, just so you know what happens when you use cheap. Okay, there's 0.3 of a volt drop on that lead, and that's a bigger gauge. So let's go here. 0.7 of a volt drop. Yikes. Oops. Okay, so 0.7 of a volt drop, 0.8 of a volt drop. There's a volt and a half. 0.3 here. It's 1.8 volt drop. Yeah, these leads are getting hot, so I'll just stop the test where we are. So anyway, this is usually for logic work and stuff. So I have some heavier duty leads. I just got to find them with great big alligator clips on them for tests like this. This is the first time I've set this up here, really pouring the coals to these things, and they're working fine. So the bottom line is you got to have a minimum voltage to turn them on, and these two appear to be something like 14.5 it needs to turn on, and then it'll go down lower than that to stay on. So anyway, I got this one. It's not stone cold anymore, but it's not really hot either. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to go find the end of this guy right here and bolt him together and call the triple whammy project complete. This one apparently had nothing wrong with it. It works. There's not a single component I replaced in here. I just didn't understand, because it's not labeled anywhere, that it needs at least 24 volts to run. So it was just me. These did need work, obviously. We've described it in the past. So next thing's to get onto the great big pure sine and the other modified sine monster. The parts are coming in today. See you, bye.